Hey everyone! Well, I'm here to introduce you guys to Empower Humanity. Well, what is Empower Humanity, you might be asking? Well, I'm glad you asked. So, we are a movement and a group of concerned citizens of the world of many different perspectives, um, united against hate, fear, and brutality, and for love, peace, justice, and a better world. Toward a better world together. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, humanity is facing a lot of very deep, dire, existential threats to its very existence and persistence, and even to life as we know it on this planet, of varying degrees, immediacy, and of a long term or a short term nature. Humanity is faced with so many crippling divisions and inequalities and injustices under the oppressive nature of this capitalist imperialist system that the ruling class are using in a divide and conquer manner to control the populace with fear and hate, turning brother against brother and sister against sister. Yes, there are important cultural and racial/ethnic differences that make us unique. But those differences are not somehow a danger or a threat, but rather a part of a bigger, beautiful tapestry. And our commonalities are bigger and stronger than what divides us. Have we forgotten that we are all but one race, the human race, with not the same, but shared futures and destinies? The problem is that we will not be able to move toward a better world together without first overcoming some very big roadblocks slash obstacles that, hinder the future of humanity. What is it? That gravely threaten the future of humanity. Sorry, there was a button in the way. That gravely threaten the future of humanity. Again, I'll just say that over since I garbled that. But the problem is that we will not be able to move forward toward a better world together without first overcoming some very big roadblocks/obstacles that gravely threaten the future of humanity. Now, the largest and most immediate such threat, I believe with great certitude and after much analysis, which was in large part brought forth by Refuse Fascism and activist friends I have encountered along this journey, to be the Trump-Pence regime and, this executive administration, because it is a fascist regime that has taken hold in the most militarily powerful capitalist imperialist nation on Earth with thousands of nuclear weapons at its disposal, too. And what I'm saying is that it's the largest and most immediate short-term threat. There's other threats out there that are more of a long-term threat, like climate change, which it's already happening, but it's more of a long-term protracted thing that'll keep continuing. Who knows how long regimes last. They come and they go, but the fact that it is such a big and immediate threat is the problem. There's other threats that are not so immediate and other threats that vary in degree, but they're still very bad for different sections of humanity. So, going back to, it is a fascist regime that has taken hold in the most militarily powerful capitalist imperialist nation on Earth, with thousands of nuclear weapons at its disposal. That is the threat right there in a nutshell. Following the analysis put forth by Refuse Fascism, as well as what is plain to see, the problem is not just Donald Trump. It is this whole Trump-Pence regime, which represents a qualitative leap from a democratic republic nation with a liberal democracy under this capitalist imperialist system, a dictatorship with, quote, our choice of elected officials of the bourgeoisie. It's a qualitative shift from that to fascism, an outright, blatant dictatorship of the bourgeois ruling class. Get rid of Trump, and you'd still have a far-right theocrat, Christian fascist in power, Mike Pence. And Trump has picked his whole cabinet and federal administrative agencies. He's packed the whole cabinet and federal administrative agencies, and like packing courts too as well, with not just crooks or traitors, but far-right fascist ideologues that all represent a clear and present danger to humanity. Now, that is the essence of like the main objective we should be focusing on as Empower Humanity. But there's other looming problems out there in the world, and I think like the next thing on the agenda, assuming we drive out the Trump-Pence regime, is total nuclear disarmament. I think that should be the very next thing on the agenda, so long as we get like at least sane people in government rather than crooks and madmen, basically. So how can you contribute to the effort to make this happen, to drive out the Trump-Pence regime? Not just that, but in the long range terms of things, like fight for a progressive future in the broadest sense, leading with love rather than division and hate. Well, how you can contribute to this is you can organize documentaries, films, movie screenings. You can have rapid response teams. And what do I mean by rapid response teams? Like, in the case like immigrants are being targeted and rounded up for deportation. Kind of like a comparison between that and like the Underground Railroad from the slavery days. It's not the same thing though. I don't want to conflate the two. But yeah, the same kind of like civil disobedience and active action to protect them, to protect their lives. The next thing would be a research team. And what do I mean by a research team is a research team that is there's the media and what role they play, but like undercover and like investigative journalists getting at the next developments of this Trump-Pence regime. What are they planning next? Not just what's going forth in the legislative, like in Congress, but what's happening behind the scenes too, and being like a step ahead of it, or trying to be a step ahead of the curve, basically. Okay, I'm back. I had to wait for something to load on my computer. Okay, so I'm just going to start from the top again with how to contribute. So the organized documentary, films, movie screenings, things like that. Like, for instance, the Trump-Pence regime must go film of a talk by Bob Avakian. The next thing would be rapid response teams. I described that already. And research teams, I described that already. But the idea, like the objective behind that research teams thing is to, at least try to be ahead of the curve of what this regime is doing. I mean, a lot of it's unpredictable, and it's like one thing after the other. And like, how do you anticipate that? Well, that's the reason why you want to have people like undercover and like investigative, doing the job that they should be doing. And from the knowledge you can garner from that, you can plan direct actions that really have a chance of mattering and breaking through to millions of people, especially if it's filmed, you know. Um, just civil disobedience actions following, um, you know, if you can be on top of it anyway. And outreach at events, of course. Definitely want to outreach at events. Outreach on social media. Sorry, outreach on the streets, first of all. That was the next point. Outreach on the streets, including flyering, leafletting, putting posters and signs and stickers up. The next thing would be to work on social media and or a Empower Humanity website. What would also be the next thing is like creating and distributing materials and creating and selling merchandise. The next thing would be expanding the organization. And the next thing would be logistics. And after that, I mean, it's not in any particular order or sequence or something, but just like bullet points here. Expand the organization, logistics, direct action and disruptions, organizing marches and rallies, communications, and fundraising and phone banking. So that would be the summary of how to contribute. And the reason why I'm like doing this and putting energy into this is because I think we should say not just no what we're against, we're against all this horrible shit, this horrendous vision, fascist vision of a world, and we're for a better world. But we should be saying, yes, we are for this better world. And what I mean by that, like, where people are leading with love, like for a heart for all of humanity, and not rather than like a narrow white nationalist few, and not for the rule of the rich either. People have all kinds of different political beliefs and alliances and leanings and all of that, left wing, right wing, all of that. But, I think something that we should at least agree upon is to put, people and future generations before profit. Like, can we please at least agree to fight for a world where that is the case? Protecting the environment, protecting the health of people, and, not infringing on their rights unless they, committed a crime, things like that. And not for the rule of any one particular race or socioeconomic strata, or nationality, and definitely not for the top 1% also, because they are putting the future of humanity, except for if they can like launch into some escape pods in space and they can get away, all of the rest of us are fucked. Let's fight for a better world for all of us. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant and a tangent there, but I think we should be saying, leading from love and saying what the vision of the future we are for is all about, and to fight for that. I think there should be 3 phases of this movement as well. Like right now, because the immediate and large threat and it's short term, but like the immediate and dire big threat right now is this Trump-Pence fascist regime, and I already explained why. The number 2 would be nuclear weapons for obvious reasons. Like, neither Kim Jong-un nor Trump can really be trusted with them. Hello. So, total nuclear disarmament. And Putin. I don't think Putin can be trusted with weapons either. But he's actually more sane than either of Trump or Kim Jong-un, in my opinion. But he is, kind of a wicked maniac too. So, so total nuclear disarmament was the point, the number 2 point. And number 3, the third phase, I think, of this should be, you know, addressing that longer term threat of climate change. It's already happening right now, so like let's get working on it right now, but are we really going to be able to get to a cleaner, more sustainable world with fewer emissions, and where all of that is actually going to matter in the long term, and like save the planet and save humanity and save all of the millions of non-human species out there that could potentially be wiped out from climate change. Yeah, like we have to address those 2 really big and potentially short-term immediate threats as soon as we can. But, you know, working on the issue of climate change in the meantime as well, of course. You know, we have to fight for the understanding, the scientific understanding that climate change is real, and not let, you know, the fascists and, you know, the 1% oil oligarchs dictate the terms, you know? So that's why those 2 things come first. Even you should be working on the issue of climate change in the meantime, but you're not going to really be able to get to the better world that is more sustainable without those 2 things coming first. And arguably, on my part, because I'm a communist, because we need a revolution to get to, you know, that third point in a way that actually matters and addresses the issue in the long term, because it's about radical solutions to get to that better world, you know? So yeah, like, but that's just my perspective on the issue of like the communist thing. But, you know, like I'm trying to generalize things here with these 3 points. Like, that's something we should all be agreeing on to protect the fate of humanity and this planet. It, you know, shouldn't matter left, right, whatever. Just do it. Anyway, that's all for now, guys. This is your intro to Empower Humanity and what this is all about. If you like this video, click like. If you want to promote it more, please share it. And hit the subscribe button as well down here if you enjoyed it and think it's worth a share and want to see more. All right, bye guys. Ciao.